The AI market is currently undergoing a violent structural realignment, and the company everyone assumes is winning the race is actually speedrunning the death of Yahoo. Back in 1999, Yahoo built a massive consumer portal that everyone used. They captured the cultural zeitgeist, but providing a free web interface to hundreds of millions of users without a scalable way to monetize it created a structurally flawed business model. They burned cash to subsidize free traffic. If we look at the modern AI tech stack through that exact same lens, OpenAI belongs right at the bottom. They are the new internet default portal. This bar chart visualizes the reality of that consumer dominance. In 2025, OpenAI managed to triple its revenue to $13.1 billion. But to service that massive base of free consumers, they burned $9 billion in cash doing it. Subsidizing a free interface with the most expensive cloud compute resources on the planet is a structural business flaw. Web traffic without strict unit economics is a corporate liability waiting for a reckoning. But while the boardroom hyper-focuses on consumer chatbots, the actual market winners are quietly executing a completely different playbook. Anthropic ignored the consumer hype cycle entirely. Instead, they focused ruthlessly on enterprise utility, safety, and embedding their models directly into developer workflows via APIs. The real existential battles are happening deep underwater, at the technical layers where developers and procurement teams are locking in long-term dependencies. True market dominance is won by embedding invisible API infrastructure into corporate workflows, not by generating the most viral chat interface. Let's descend to level 1 of the iceberg, the abstraction layer. Right now, trend-chasing executives are making a critical architectural error. They are hard-coding their enterprise applications directly to a single proprietary AI model. Betting your entire tech stack on a single vendor is a massive risk. Just look at the organizations that tied their fate to Yahoo's disastrous Tumblr acquisition. When the host platform collapses or pivots, you pay the price. This flow diagram shows the correct engineering solution. Pragmatic development teams use middleware gateways to abstract the AI layer away from the application. This architecture forces internal prompts and workflows to remain completely model agnostic. The application speaks to the gateway, and the gateway decides which model handles the request. If your primary AI vendor suddenly triples their API pricing or goes bankrupt, your system doesn't break. You simply route the traffic to a competitor. In an incredibly volatile market, abstraction is a mandatory engineering survival mechanism. Resilient systems treat AI intelligence as an interchangeable, commoditized resource. It is a utility, not an irreplaceable dependency. Moving deeper to level 2, we hit the absolute foundation of the AI war, hardware monopolies. There is a widespread industry misconception that Google is losing the AI race because their early releases had buggy interfaces. This ignores the financial reality of compute. Google possesses an invincible structural advantage. Their legacy search advertising engine acts as a self-replenishing cash machine to silently fund endless data center expansion. This scale comparison illustrates Google's projected AI capital expenditure for 2026, a staggering $175 to $185 billion. Google builds its own hardware, representing a decade of proprietary chip development competitors cannot replicate. Venture-backed startups are trapped, rapidly burning through their cash reserves to rent GPUs at a premium, while Google relies on a self-funding, self-owned hardware loop. Owning the underlying silicon drastically reduces the long-term unit economics of processing data. Their profit margins on enterprise inference will always be companies paying cloud rent. And relying strictly on cloud-based API inference creates inherent bandwidth and latency bottlenecks for heavy, continuous enterprise workflows. Processing millions of daily requests across massive organizations requires a physical scale that startups simply cannot sustain independently. The enterprise AI war won't be won by the smartest algorithm. It will be won by whoever completely controls and self-funds the physical compute layer. Which brings us to the terrifying, darkest bottom of the AI iceberg, the native desktop operating system land grab. The traditional web browser is a dead end for serious enterprise AI interaction. Standard web browsers operate in strict, sandboxed security containers. These restrictions prevent AI from observing local files or system-level actions, making the browser a limiting container for advanced agents. So AI companies are executing a brilliant Trojan horse maneuver. They are pushing users out of the browser and into native, locally installed desktop applications. This cost flow diagram highlights the unit economics behind the shift. By running locally, the provider offloads expensive cloud inference costs directly onto the user's own hardware. These native apps hijack local GPUs. This processes background data immediately, entirely bypassing cloud latency. When basic logic tasks are handled on the edge, the AI provider saves massive amounts of server compute and bandwidth overhead. But the real value is data access. Native OS apps bypass browser sandboxes to gain deep, unfettered access to read your screen, monitor local file systems, and observe exactly how you work. This grants the provider highly invasive system-level visibility. The desktop agent constantly monitors, analyzes, and integrates itself into your daily workflows. With system-level access, the AI elevates from a simple productivity tool into a deeply embedded workflow dependency that is nearly impossible to rip out. The end game for these AI giants is to become the entire operating system layer you live inside. Contrast the massive infrastructure plays of Google and Anthropic against the fragile SaaS mentalities of most corporate IT departments, who still treat AI tools like standard web applications. Applying traditional web application governance to a native AI desktop agent is a catastrophic security failure. This diagram shows why. Traditional zero-trust architectures protect networks from external web apps, but are bypassed entirely by an agent possessing OS-level root access. Leaders must immediately develop updated frameworks designed to contain tools requiring deep file integration. Adopting local AI compute demands abandoning simple web security in favor of deeply integrated endpoint governance. AI is a 5-year operating system infrastructure commitment. Organizations that ignore the local compute dividend and rely entirely on cloud APIs will face severely bloated infrastructure bills as usage scales. You establish an immediate competitive advantage by aligning your corporate hardware refresh cycles to prioritize local GPU capabilities. You want your own machines handling the inference. Over the next 18 months, the productivity gap between organizations treating AI as a web app and those that deploy it as core OS infrastructure will widen exponentially. Evaluate your vendors by their structural durability. Buy infrastructure over consumer hype, and prepare for the desktop takeover. This has been the Raw Deep Tech. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.